Today we are going to talk about the female reproductive cycle. They are also called female monthly sexual cycles. They are also called menstrual cycles, right? We will discuss about that during these cycles, what are the changes in the body and which organs are playing role and what is the purpose of these monthly cycles. Which is the highest center which is playing a role in female monthly cycles? Which is the highest center in our body? Ovary. Ovary is not highest, you know, it's in bottom, isn't it? Which is the highest center? You know, to having kids and making babies is such important business to the nature that there are some higher center which orchestrate the events in ovary and uterus, right? Ovaries and uterus are just taking the commands, but where is the command center? Where is the command center? Yeah? It is, you say pituitary gland. No, master of the pituitary gland, that is hypothalamus. That is the hypothalamus. First of all, actually, in this thing, the female reproductive cycle, actually you have to understand the major axis is hypothalamus, then it works through anterior pituitary, right? Then anterior pituitary control the ovaries and ovaries control the uterus, prepare the uterus to take the chance and for the pregnancy. So we say that female reproductive cycle is hypothalamic, pituitary, ovarian, uterine axis. Whenever you talk about female reproductive cycle, you have to talk at 4 levels. What's happening in hypothalamus, what's happening in anterior pituitary, what's happening in ovaries, and what is happening in uterus. Is that right? Throughout the monthly cycles. Am I clear? Now, first of all, we should know where is the hypothalamus. The first point is the master regulator of female reproductive cycles. And of course, also don't feel bad. Mr. Israel is feeling bad. Even in males also, their sexual activity is regulated by hypothalamus. Thank God, not monthly, right? So what I'm talking about, that master regulator of your sexual activity, that is done by hypothalamus. It is so important. You must know where it is exactly. Not only it controls your sexual activity, it controls your weight. It controls most of your endocrine system. Hypothalamus is the master of your endocrine society. It is the chairman of your lot of vegetative functions, your weight control, your temperature control. Hypothalamus even influences your mood. Even it tells you when you are hungry and when you have eaten enough. Is that right? Even it drives anger. Hypothalamus even controls all your autonomic nervous system. Suppose this is 70 kg man, just come here. I think he is more than 70 kg, right? This is 70 kg man, this must be more. Now this man, his all visceral activity, all autonomic nervous system activity, all reproductive activity, all endocrine activity, including his sexual activity, including his mood, all of them is controlled by his personal hypothalamus. So this about 80 kg man, 80 kilograms, is dancing, his all body system is dancing according to the directions of hypothalamus. What is the weight of hypothalamus? Anyone who knows? What is the weight of hypothalamus? Approximately, I know you are not sitting and measuring that all the time. You have any idea? The master regulator of your body, how much weight it has?
5 grams.
I think you have been measuring it. Really? Yeah. Okay, I will tell you, he's right and totally unexpectedly right. It is about 4 grams, right? Maybe he has personally 5 grams, but usually most of the people have around 4 gram weight or just 4 grams. You know how much is 4 grams? This little nail, if you remove this little nail and weight, it is approximately 4 grams. This little nail is just about the weight of the hypothalamus, which controls so much. Is that right? So whenever we talk about female reproductive system and even males, we start the story from Hypothalamus. And then again, masters are under control of other masters.
Yes.
Hypothalamus is being controlled by your mood. There are higher centers even above the hypothalamus, which is called limbic system in the brain. You will study in neuroanatomy. Limbic system influences hypothalamus heavily. You disappear. Okay. Limbic system is part of the cerebral cortex which control your emotions, your moods, your perceptions. That influences hypothalamus also. It means that influences the female's monthly cycle also. Mr. Ronald, you can ask females, and some of them may tell you that when they are emotionally disturbed, their cycles get disturbed. Am I right or wrong? Is that right? So you must know, don't start that female is just, it's really insult to female that she has such a wonderful reproductive and biologically increasing the human system, and you just tell they are ovaries and uterus. Master regulators are very high. So we have to know, first of all, where is hypothalamus exactly located in our body? Everyone knows where is uterus, where are the ovaries. Of course, hypothalamus is in the central nervous system. I will draw the central nervous system here. Right? In this diagram, we should know exactly where is the hypothalamus. You know, this is cerebral hemisphere, midbrain, pons, medulla, spinal cord, cerebellum. I'm not going to teach you all this right now. I'm just interested, you must know exactly. Can you put your finger exactly where is hypothalamus there? Can you put your finger there? Exactly where is hypothalamus? You must know, because that regulates every month. Out of females, anyone can come and put the finger on this diagram and tell exactly where is the master regulate, master of, yeah, she want to put fingers like this. She got so emotional about these cycles. She thinks her brain is busy regulating that. Brain has many other functions. Yes. Okay, let me tell you. You have heard of anterior pituitary gland and posterior pituitary gland? Look, this is exact position of hypothalamus. Right, and just under it, this is hypothalamus, then look, this is anterior pituitary gland. What is it? Yes, please. Anterior pituitary gland or hypophysis, and this is, yes, what is it? Posterior pituitary gland. Let me bring this diagram out. Okay, I'll make it rather more simple. I have brought the structure out, right? Let's suppose the structure was present over here. Right? Now, this is hypothalamus. This is anterior pituitary. Of course, this is easy to understand. Here should be nose, so this must be anterior and this must be posterior. Right? This is anterior pituitary gland. And what is this gland? Yes, please. Posterior pituitary gland. Is that right? And this is the pituitary stalk. Stalk means connection bit. So pituitary is attached with the undersurface of hypothalamus with the pituitary stalk. Is that right? Now, hypothalamus is so small area here. It is controlling anterior pituitary and it also has a very intimate relation with posterior pituitary. Right now we'll discuss relationship of hypothalamus with anterior pituitary. Actually, there are very special group of neurons here. What is this? This is a special type of nucleus. I will enlarge this nucleus. This is a group of neurons here. What are these? This structure is made of a lot of cell bodies, neuronal cell bodies. And this collection of neuronal cell bodies is called, it is like an arc. So it is called arcuate nucleus. Actually, neurons which are present in the arcuate nucleus, They are the truly master regulator of female reproductive activity. Is that right? And some help is given by another group of neurons here, and this group of neurons is called preoptic nucleus. In the central nervous system, nucleus means collection of neuronal cell bodies. Nucleus means collection of neuronal cell bodies. So there are preoptic nucleus and there is arcuate nucleus. Both of them regulate the female reproductive system. If you really want to remember only one of them, which one you will remember? If you cannot remember both, arcuate, right? So put a star with it. At least this is what you should not forget, right? So in the arcuate nucleus, there are special type of neurons which are releasing a special chemical substance. Look, this is a neuron. I make now one neuron large. This is the neuron. This neuron on stim releases special type of chemical substance, right? And all the neurons here are releasing that chemical substance. So chemical substance is coming out of this nucleus. What is the name of this chemical substance? Anyone? Very good. He is saying gonadotropin releasing hormone. I will write full name, gonadotropin. First of all, you should know what is gonadotropin. Gonadotropin hormones mean such hormone which have tropic action on the gonads. Gonadotropins mean such hormone which have tropic action. Tropic mean growth action. Now, the hormone which is coming out from here, or we call it hypothalamic factor. Hypothalamic factor which is coming out from arcuate nucleus is gonadotropin hormone releasing factor. Gonadotropic hormone releasing factor. Now what really happens? That between the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary there is a special vascular connection. There are some blood vessels, right? And these blood vessels are connecting the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary gland, right? This vascular connection is very important because this will take, what is this thing? Gonadotropin, yes please, releasing factors, take it down to the anterior pituitary. It will take it down to the anterior pituitary. Then there are cells in the anterior pituitary. Right? And when these cells are stimulated, right, they can release what? They can release gonadotropins. Right? It means gonadotropins are released from where? Anterior pituitary. From the anterior pituitary, gonadotropins are released. But who forces the anterior pituitary to release gonadotropin? That is hypothalamus. So hypothalamus releases some factors. Those factors go to the anterior pituitary. Those factors stimulate the cells in anterior pituitary, and those cells release gonadotropic hormones. Now, one of the gonadotropic hormone is called follicle stimulating hormone. And other gonadotropic hormone is called, yes please, luteinizing hormone. So in a simple word, what we can say that from the hypothalamus, gonadotropic releasing factors are released, and these gonadotropic releasing factors are taken to the anterior pituitary. There they stimulate the anterior pituitary cells, and then anterior pituitary cells, under the influence of hypothalamic factors, they release gonadotropic hormones. One is follicle stimulating hormone, another is luteinizing hormone. Is that clear? No problem up to this? So if female has maybe lot of ovaries, lot of uterus, but if she does not have hypothalamus functioning, or she does not have FSH, LH produced, will her system work? No. So whenever you talk about female reproductive cycle, don't start from ovary, start with the hypothalamus. Is that clear? Now, let's start studying that how follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone work in a particular female, right? Let us suppose we talk about a female who has monthly cycles of 28 days. What is the normal length of female reproductive cycle or menstrual cycle? Normal length? No, but females have not studied the books, they will go always 28 days, but this is a biological system. Sometimes it may be shorter, in some female it is shorter, some female it is longer, right? I said average is 28 days. But what is the variability they are allowed within normal range? For example, if I say a male length is 5 feet 8 inches, but every male is not that length. Some are a bit tall and others are short. So what is the average? Average is 28 days. Is that right? But of course, our reproductive system has not studied the books. So, in some females it is little shorter cycles, in some females it is little longer cycle. What is the, how much females are allowed to have? How short or how long? Because if they are having cycles shorter than a specific days, then we think it is pathology. It's not normal. Or some females have very long cycle, then we think it is abnormality. So first of all, we should know how much is the normal range. Do you have any idea what should be the normal range? We are going to be doctors, yes. 3 days, you are telling about which days? 3 days plus and negative? On these sides. No, actually let me tell you, exactly it is 21 days to 35 days. Let me tell you what I really mean by this and why it is so important that my students should know that. Listen, some females have shorter cycles and some females have longer cycles, and some female in some part of life they have shorter cycle, that other time of life they have longer cycles. Actually, if female has cycle somewhere between 21 days to 35 days, it is considered normal. But if she is less than that, then we think it is pathology. She should be investigated. Maybe something wrong with her. Or if some female has cycle, let's suppose regular cycles are more than 35 days, you must again watch what's wrong with her. Is that right? So about most of the females should have cycles between 21 days to 35 days, right? If it is less than 21 days, it is considered a problem, right? Now, we'll talk about these things later. First, we talk about how it orchestrates. Now, we'll draw the 4 structures. We'll talk about a typical female who has 28 days cycle. But I'm saying the cycles can be shorter or longer. Now, listen. Here, what we call it, day 1. And here is suppose day 28. Is that right? Now, what we have here is day 14, which is the middle cycle. 14th day, right? Now, what we do, that we start making our concept that a female who passed from the day 1 of the cycle up to 28th day of the cycle, what are the different events which are occurring in her body? What is happening in hypothalamus? What is happening in anterior pituitary? What is happening in ovary? What is happening in uterus? That is the concept which you have to develop over this time scale. Is that right? So let's start with, first of all, from hypothalamus and anterior pituitary. Again, what was this nucleus from where the gonadotropin releasing hormones are produced? What is the name of this nucleus? Arcuate nucleus, and some help is given by preoptic nucleus. Now, in the beginning of the cycle, usually female menstrual bleeding remains for about 4 to 5 days. Is that right? What is the cause of bleeding? I will discuss it later, right? Right now what happened, the first day of the menstrual bleeding, right? First day of menstrual bleeding is considered first day of the reproductive cycle. Is that right? First day of the reproductive cycle. Now, as during around these early days, what is happening in hypothalamus? What is happening in anterior pituitary? What is happening in ovary? That is what we will discuss. It's the beginning of the cycle. Why this bleeding occur, I will discuss it later. Right now we concentrate at higher level. Actually in early days, this is start releasing, what is this? Gonadotropin releasing hormone. This gonadotropin releasing hormone is coming in anterior pituitary. And in the anterior pituitary, it is stimulating the cells, and those cells are producing, yes please, follicle stimulating hormone. Now follicle stimulating hormone is going to work on the ovaries. Is that right? Let's suppose I draw one ovary over here. I make a very big ovary just for conceptual purposes, right? Now in the ovary there are special type of follicles which are called primordial follicles. Have you heard of them? Primordial follicles. What is the structure of primordial follicle? Primordial follicle has just one ovum. What it is having? One ovum, right? And this ovum is surrounded by epithelial flattened cells. These are flat cells, right? This ovum is surrounded by flat cells. Is that right? And this structure is called primordial follicle. Is that right? Now, what FSH will do with it in the beginning of the cycle? Anyone who knows? Right. So Mr. Ronald say FSH will, follicle stimulating hormone will stimulate the primordial follicle. True answer is that you are wrong. Primordial follicles do not need to be stimulated. They automatically, every month they automatically start growing and convert, some of the primordial follicle convert into primary follicles. FSH actually work on primary follicles to convert them into secondary follicle. This is very important point. Listen, female has 2 ovaries. In every ovary there are thousands and thousands of primordial follicles. In the beginning of every cycle, automatically some of the primordial follicles start growing without the support of FSH. I will tell you what is the role of FSH. But what really happens, automatically in the beginning of the cycle, about approximately 15 primordial follicles start growing. And what happens to these primordial follicles? Yes, I'm just showing one primordial follicle, but many of them start growing and they convert into primary follicle. Now, what is the difference between primordial follicle and primary follicle? Just sample.
Does anything control the conversion?
Yeah, something control, but that is not FSH. Yes, there is. It says, is there anything which control the conversion of primordial follicle to primary follicle? Answer is yes. There are some local substances are produced which control the conversion of primordial follicle into primary follicle. Then FSH, then order comes from the top to convert the primary and going to the secondary and Graafian follicles. Is that right? You have to remember it. Primordial by local factors convert into primary without FSH. Now, what is the difference in primordial follicle and primary follicle? Yes, please, anyone? What is happening? Never studied this topic? Look, only difference is, look, what is this? This is your ovum, isn't it? These cells, what are these cells? Primordial follicular cells. These follicle cells become large and cuboidal and they make one or multiple layers around the ovum. That is the only difference. Is that right? So at the beginning of the cycle, every month, somewhere between 10 to 20 or approximately 15 primordial follicles convert into, yes, primary follicles. How we know that which primordial have converted into primary? That under the microscope you look at these cells. These cells become cuboidal. Is that right? What are these cells doing, by the way? What these cells are surrounding the ovum, what they are doing there? Of course, they are giving the nourishment. Ovum is such an important cell in the body. Female is carrying ovum to produce the perpetuation of human generations. Is that right? So these ova are having these primordial cells or follicular cells which are nourishing it. Okay, my question is that you must be knowing that ova are made from the primordial cells. I will not go into detail, but you must be knowing that primordial cell goes into meiotic division. Meiotic division, is that right? And during that division, there is first meiotic division and then there is second meiotic division, right? There is first meiotic division and then the product of first meiotic division, they go into, yes, this is second meiotic division. I will teach this topic separately. I am not going into detail, but just what I am telling that one of the very basic cell, first it will go into first meiotic division and make two cells. Then cell, the product of first meiotic division will go into second meiotic division. Is that right? My question is that in the female, I mean human female, when the first meiotic division start, and first in the human female, when the first meiotic division start, I'm about to be impressed by someone, yes? Before the birth of the female herself? You mean if there is a female standing here and she is pregnant, just imagine there is a female standing here and she is pregnant, full-term pregnant, right? And you do, no, listen. And I do the ultrasound and we come to know that this female lady is carrying a female fetus. Do you think this fetus, female fetus, which is not yet born, do you think in this female fetus there are ovaries? Yes, ovaries are there, of course. Do you think in those ovaries, ova has started their first meiotic division? Do you believe that? Okay, I'm happy at least one thing all of you agree and you're right. That is true. The first meiotic division start in the female's ovary even before she takes birth from her mother. Is that right? And what about the boys? You are also having basic cells from where you are going to make sperms. When you start first meiotic divisions for making the sperms, yes, about the boy. Yeah, Dr. Israel. When you started first meiotic division in your germ cell, when you really got bothered for the next generation, your wife was bothered even before she took herself birth. Your wife started planning for the next generation even before she was born, that her ovaries was having the ova which have started their first meiotic division. What about you? You also started before you took birth or after that? Yeah? Females know more about even men. She is saying that men start their business, meiotic business, after puberty. You can look at them, right? That even at cellular level, female plan ahead of the men as far as babies are concerned. Right? Listen again. Females, when they are themselves in fetal life, when their ovaries or gonads are being made, their ovaries are being made at that very time before they take the birth, they have started first meiotic division of their ova cells. Is that right? But men start, or human male start first meiotic division for the sperm formation, first meiotic division after the puberty. Is that right? We don't pre-plan so much. So what really happens? All the females who are sitting here, in their ovaries, there are a lot of primordial follicles, and in those primordial follicles, they started first meiotic division when they were themselves in the uterus of their mothers. First meiotic division, right? And when they complete their first meiotic division, they just start or complete also. Look, just a minute. She has to start first meiotic division and complete the first meiotic division. Product of first meiotic division will be two cells. One cell is called polar body, other is the secondary ovum. Then secondary ovum again undergoes second meiotic division and make one more polar body, and itself it converts into definitive ovum. Let me tell you. From here the first meiotic division start, and once it is completed, it make one polar body. What is this? Polar body. Have you heard of it? And other is secondary ovum. Then secondary ovum and polar body both undergo second meiotic division, right? And first polar body will give rise to two more polar bodies. These are two more polar bodies from the one polar body. And from the secondary ovum, that divides into third polar body. So how many polar bodies? One polar body, second polar body, right? And third polar body. And this thing is the, what is this? Definitive ovum. Of course, from the beginning, all this was ovum, right? But you should know the difference in primary ovum and secondary ovum and definitive ovum. Is that right? So primary ovum started the division. What really happened? There was first polar body and there was secondary ovum. Is that right? And then eventually it converted into definitive ovum. Now, one thing you have answered very well, that this process, the first meiotic division, female start when she was in her mother's uterus. So it means that, for example, if we talk about this female, then all the primordial follicles which she is having in both ovaries, they are having such ova which started their first meiotic division many years back when she was herself in intrauterine life. Clear? Next question is that it started its division, then it get arrested in prophase. It get arrested in prophase. It never complete first meiotic division during the fetal life. So females are born with the ovaries, having the ova which are frozen in their prophases. Is that right? When they will complete this division? Yes, who will tell me?
Wait, I have a question. So they're born in prophase 1?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
So she is not sure, right? That every female in the world, I mean human female, they're born with the ovaries loaded with thousands and thousands of primordial follicles, having the ova which has started their first meiotic division but yet not finished. All ova having their nuclear material stuck into, genetic material stuck into prophase. When they will complete it? It's a very interesting question, isn't it? When they complete their first meiotic division? When primordial follicle is, yes, converted into, not primary, secondary. It means, if we talk about this female, right, this month, she chooses about 15 primordial follicle. Out of them, some will be converted, all of them will be converted into primary follicle, then some are converted into secondary follicle. When follicle convert into secondary follicle, then ova suddenly become active and complete its first division. Completes its first meiotic division and start its second meiotic division. Once it has started its second meiotic division, when the ova is going to complete the second meiotic division? I will be thoroughly impressed if someone can answer. For example, look, a female having primordial follicle converted into primary follicle, then secondary follicle, then Graafian follicle, then ovulation occur, then ovum has gone to fallopian tube, sperm was never there. Is that right? During all these phases, when female completed its second meiotic division, she started the second meiotic division before ovulation. When she completes, look, female, that ovum which never gets fertilized never completes its second meiotic division. Ovum which never gets sperm is so sad that it dies without completing its second meiotic division. Sperm is not there. What's the fun of completing it? You know, females are delicate, and having the vision, they start their business too early. But they're so sensitive, if sperm is not there, they never complete second meiotic division and ovum dies. Is that right? But if ovum is lucky and gets a sperm, magical touch of the sperm, and ovum will in rush complete its second meiotic division, get ready. Yes, this is exactly what happens. So if female has 10 babies, so how many ovum really completed second meiotic division? 10. But ask her how many she aborted. You never know. Right? If she has 5 abortions and 10 live baby, it means 15 times. So the point which I want to hammer in your mind is that ova in the female starts its first meiotic division before the female takes birth, and at the time just before the ovulation, ovum completes its first meiotic division and start the second meiotic division, and second meiotic division will be only completed if sperm is there, if ovum gets fertilized. If ovum never gets fertilized, never completes its second meiotic division. Now let's move forward. So this was primordial follicle, and what is this? Primary follicle. What is the difference in primordial and primary? Don't tell me spellings are different. In primordial, they are flattened cell. Follicular cells are flattened. Here, the follicular covering cells are cuboidal. Is that right? This is primary follicle. Now, these cells may be monolayer or they may be multi-layered. Is that right? This is primary. Now, this is the important point. Taking the primary to the secondary follicle is the business of FSH. You must know exactly where it works. Is that right? Look, if female does not have follicle stimulating hormone, or every month, look, if a female does not have follicle stimulating hormone, right, then all the primordial which converted into primary, they will never convert into secondary. So conversion of primary into secondary and further growth of secondary into Graafian requires follicle stimulating hormone. Why I'm so much stressing? Because when you will become doctor, you will be using many drugs which are modifying FSH, LH, estrogen action, progesterone action. First, you should know what are the normal actions. Now it will convert into secondary follicle. What will happen? Here is the ova. Meanwhile, look, granulosa cells, they have become multi-layered. Is that right? Right. And then some cells. You know what are these? These are connective tissue cells of ovary. What are these? Stroma of ovary. These are connective tissue cells of the ovary, or stroma of the ovary. When now it is getting ready for big things, two things will happen. What will happen? Number one, ovum will make a special private layer of connective tissue around it. Females like privacy, including the ovum. So ovum will secrete some glycoproteins, and these glycoproteins will make a very, very unique layer of glycoproteins around the ovum. This layer was not present in previous stage. What is this layer called? Excellent, she knows it. Zona pellucida. What is this? Zona pellucida. What is the function of zona pellucida? What is very special point about it? The sperm will come if it comes. Many sperm hit on the zona pellucida. But as soon as one sperm passes through the zona pellucida and touch the ovum, zona pellucida become resistant to the rest of the sperm. Listen, in future, when this will be ovulated, I will tell you that zona pellucida has a very special function. That it will allow, it has special receptors, that it will allow only human sperm to pass through it, thank God. Zona pellucida allows only human sperm to pass through, number one, human male sperm. Number two, that once, they have found that in one ovum, along with the zona pellucida, sometimes hundreds of the sperms are embedded in the zona pellucida. Many, it's all about competition. The many sperms are trying to get to the ovum, and many of them have put their head in zona pellucida. But as soon as the first sperm touches the ovum, let me tell you, this is zona pellucida, right? Here is what? Inside it, what is this? Ovum. Is that right? Let's suppose here are the sperm, and multiple sperm are coming and trying to reaching through this, right? As soon as one sperm, this is the probably most competitive one, it has touch here. You know what the ovum will do? Just look at an analogy. There is a female living in a very beautiful palace, and there are thousands of the windows open. One day someone will come. Many men trying to approach those windows. As soon as one man jump in, automatically all windows shut. Now it's a private matter. No more allowed to enter in. Are you understanding it? It is true at the cellular level also. That as soon as one sperm touches this, sperm membrane touches the ovum membrane. Ovum releases certain substances which modifies the zona pellucida in such a way every other sperm is stuck and unable to move forward. And only this will happily transfer its genetic material there and some other factors. That is how ovum prevents the polyspermy. What it prevents? The multiple sperm should not come, only one. Is that clear? But as soon as it touches here, ovum has to do one more thing. It has to complete its second meiotic division. You remember? And actually, this is the magic touch of the sperm which induces the ovum to complete its second meiotic division. Is that right? But let me tell you these structures. This is a primordial follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle, and secondary follicular cells release some substances. Due to those substances, some connective tissue cells around it make a special arrangement here. Now look, this whole specialized structure, look, inside there is ovum, then there is what? Zona pellucida. Around it there are, what are these? Granulosa cells. What are these? Granulosa cells. Right? And what is around them? This is called theca cells. This is called theca cells. What are these? Yes, please. Granulosa cells. Is that right? And even there will be, as it will grow further, theca cells will make two layers, theca interna and theca externa. Is that right? You may be thinking, why Dr. Najeeb is putting so much time on this? Because they are very important things. What is the very special function of granulosa cell and theca cell? Anyone has some idea? Or they are just there because God wanted you to memorize the things? Or the special function of theca cells and granulosa cells? Yes, please.
They're what moves the ovum out of the ovary.
Okay, she thinks all these cells are there to kick the ovum out. Is that right? I think some more important function. Okay, one function is they are all for the nourishment of the ovary, another function. You know what is that? These cells, theca cell, produce the product which go to granulosa cell. And granulosa cell convert these product into a very special product which will rush to the uterus to make the uterus ready, that there is some chances, some ovum is being prepared, maybe there is going to be pregnancy and uterus has to get ready. So very important. You know what is this substance coming from here to here? Androgens, male hormones. I know I'm teaching female ovary. Female ovary produces male hormones from theca cells. Then thank God, male hormones move to the granulosa cells. Granulosa cells are master in converting the male hormones into female hormones, estrogen. You get it? So one of the very important function of granulosa cell is converting the androgens into estrogen. Yes. Have you heard of estrogen or estrogen? Females are very proud of that. Who's making it? Granulosa cell. But they are very clever that they convert the male hormone into female hormone. These theca cell produce testosterone-like materials which are called androgens. Is that right? Eventually, what happens that all these cells produce a lot of fluid. And that fluid, now look here, that fluid is filled into that. Due to that reason, cell is pushed, this is ovum, pushed on one side. Ovum having what is this, zona? Pellucida. And some granulosa cells are around it. And other granulosa cells making a very big covering. And what is this here? Fluid-filled cavity. What is it? Fluid-filled cavity. It is very rich in estrogen and other thing. And around it, what is here? Yes, please. Theca layers. Theca interna and theca externa. This type of follicles are called, which is having a very big fluid-filled cavity. This type of follicle is called, yes, Graafian follicle or secondary follicle. Have you heard of Graafian follicle? Is that right? Now first make this concept. There was primordial follicle that convert into primary follicle, and this event is without FSH. Then primary follicles, if they don't receive FSH, they will degenerate. But if stimulation comes, follicle stimulating hormone comes, that hormone convert primary follicle into secondary follicle. And secondary follicle develops fluid-filled cavity, and then it is called Graafian follicle. Now this cell in the Graafian follicle, it has completed its first meiotic division and has started its second meiotic division. Am I clear? Meanwhile, what is really happening? Let's look at the uterus. I will make a uterus here. This part of the uterus is called cervix. Here are the fallopian tubes. What is this? Fallopian tube. And here is also fallopian tube. Now, the part of the uterus above the cervix and below the fallopian tube, this part of the uterus is called body of the uterus. This is called body of the uterus. And this part of the uterus, which is above the fallopian tube, is called fundus of the uterus. This is the body of the uterus. And what is above it? Fundus of the uterus. And here is cervix of the uterus. These are the three major parts of the uterus. Now, in the uterus, if you talk about layers of the uterus, these cells, they are making which layer? Endometrium. This is the innermost layer of the uterus. Uterus is lined from within by which cells which are making? This is endometrium of the uterus. Here are the smooth muscles. And the smooth muscle layer of the uterus is called, yes please, myometrium. What is it called? Myometrium. Outside is the connective tissue which is called perimetrium. Is that right? Now, listen. We will see what is happening. Listen carefully, come back. From the day one, interior pituitary started producing follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone was converting primary follicles into secondary follicles and then into Graafian follicles. Is that right? Now listen carefully. Did one follicle start or many follicles started the business? Many follicles started. Is that right? Now in normal female, beginning of every cycle, I told you somewhere between 10 to 20 follicles started the business, started the growth, again competition. Do you think all of the follicles will grow in the same speed or they may be slightly different? What do you think? They will be different. Some of the follicles will grow faster and other follicles will grow slower. Remember, in this diagram, I'm showing only growth of one follicle. But actually, like this, about 20 series are growing in a female ovary. Is that right? Now, competition is really very, very cruel. Something very strange happened. You know what happened? All these follicles, when they convert into secondary level, their granulosa cells are producing estrogen. What they are producing? Estrogen. This estrogen is doing some important functions. I will tell you only two. Number one, the estrogen which is being produced from here, estrogen, let's suppose this is the estrogen. This molecule through the blood will come to the, what is this? Endometrium. And it will tell the endometrium, you know, there is some good news. Some follicles are being prepared. Be ready. There is a chance to have a baby. So what happened? Endometrium starts its preparation. Endometrial cells start multiplying. So now it will start multiplying. So it will become thin or thick? It will become thick. Is that right? So what estrogen is doing? Estrogen is going to the, yes, endometrium and forcing the endometrium to undergo proliferation. That is why this stage is called proliferative stage of the endometrium. For a while you suppose I'm a female, right? Cycle has started, just hypothetically. Cycle has started early days from anterior pituitary, follicle stimulating hormone coming. Follicle stimulating hormone coming to my ovary, making many series of follicles growth. Then granulosa cells start producing estrogen. Estrogen going to the uterine endometrium, right? And estrogen is a happy message to it. All these cells proliferating. Is that right? Am I clear? Now, it is in the early days of the cycle. So you can say first initial days of the cycle. Now, what we will say the uterine endometrium is passing through which stage? Proliferative stage. And blood is passing through which stage? She is having what in the blood? High level. Estrogen stage. And ovary is passing through which stage? Follicular stage. So, look here. These were the cycle, 28th day here, day 1 here, 14th day here. The business is going somewhere here. It has not reached up to here. Now, during this, what was coming from the top? FSH. What ovary was doing? Follicles. In the female body, what is happening? Ovary is making follicles. And what is being released from follicles to the blood? Estrogen. And what estrogen is doing to the uterine endometrium? Proliferation. So this part, look at this. Some people call it FSH part of the monthly cycle. Some doctors will call it follicular part of the monthly cycle. Some will call it estrogenic part of the monthly cycle. Some will call it proliferative part of the monthly cycle. But actually a good doctor will say that this part is follicular phase as far as ovary is concerned, estrogenic phase as far as blood level of the female hormones are concerned, and it is proliferative stage as far as endometrium is concerned. Is that right? Clear? Now, this what happens that estrogen has gone and made it proliferation. This is good or bad? This is good. You know, females plan too much. Now, but you know, some naughty things are also there. I told you competition is very cruel. There was only one follicle growing, many follicles growing. Do you think if all of them dump their ova and millions of the sperm come, a women may have 12 babies? Is it good? No. Isn't it? So we want to get the ovum from the best of the follicle. If we get the ovum from all the follicle, there will be too much babies, isn't it? Now competition will come. As estrogen level in the blood will go up, not only it will lead to proliferation here, this will go to back to where? It will go and tell them, you see, I'm estrogen. If I am coming to you, it means follicles are growing. Because if estrogen come and coming to the anterior pituitary cells, and these cells, hypothalamic cells, it means follicles are there, because follicles produce estrogen. So when these cells receive estrogen, they become happy. They say, yes, we send FSH, and follicles are maturing, and the evidence of mature follicle is, report is coming through estrogen. They become very happy. And do you think now they will send more stimulation? No. So what happens? That FSH level goes down. Now the real competition thing will come. The follicle which is best grown can grow without FSH now. And the other follicles which are a little bit smaller, they were still dependent on FSH. And FSH is withdrawn, and the smaller follicle dies. In this way, nature chooses the best follicle every month. Again, let me repeat it. Listen carefully. In the beginning of the cycle, hypothalamic pituitary system coordinate with each other, and anterior pituitary releases FSH. FSH recruits many primary follicles into secondary. As secondary follicles are growing, granulosa cells and theca cells are there. Theca cells are producing androgens. Those androgens are converted into estrogen by granulosa cells. These granulosa cells release estrogen in the blood. This estrogen does two functions. It does many functions, but two I'm mentioning here. One, it will go to the uterus and switch the endometrium into proliferative stage. Secondly, estrogen rush through the blood to the anterior pituitary and hypothalamus, and rising level of estrogen inhibits the release of FSH. Is that right? And even LH also is initially less. So this estrogen going back is positive feedback or negative feedback? Negative feedback, because one thing is increasing and having negative influence on the production of other thing. Estrogen is going up but forcing the FSH to go down. So now understand the analogy that one father is supporting 10 children. Is that right? Children start growing. One of them grow very well and send something back to the father. And father assumes, fine, my children are growing well, I don't need support anyone. Eldest child will survive, and younger was still dependent on support of father, they will die. This is exactly what happens here. That follicles were dependent on FSH. As they keep on growing more and more, they become less and less dependent on FSH. And all of them are producing estrogen. But the follicle which is best grown, Graafian follicle, produces massive amount of estrogen. And this massive amount of estrogen forces the anterior pituitary to stop the production of FSH. And as soon as FSH goes down, other than the Graafian follicles, they become degenerated. Those degenerated follicles are called atretic follicles. We call them atretic. Atretic means degenerated, atretic follicles. So you see, that out of so many follicles you started the activity, only one will be selected, other will go down. Is that right? Atresia. Those which go under atresia, all of them probably completed their first meiotic division. All of them started their secondary meiotic division, but none of them could ever complete it. Even about this we are not sure, because it depends on sperm. There are so many chances, and different. Now, Graafian follicle is left there, others are going down. Now what happens? Now listen carefully. Sometimes what happens, if I'm giving something, Mr. Gavin, you will come here. Let's suppose I'm the ovary and he is the anterior pituitary. I'm the ovary and he is the anterior pituitary. Normally, anterior pituitary produces gonadotropin hormones, FSH and LH. I will discuss the role of LH after a few minutes. FSH and LH. So he produces gonadotropins. And who orders him? From hypothalamus. Right? So under the hypothalamic gonadotropin releasing hormones, it releases FSH. FSH coming to ovary. Ovary making a lot of... No. Yeah, you should look there, uterus. Yeah. No. So ovary stays away. And so ovary stays away and hypothalamus is far away. Okay. Right. Now, listen. Now what is happening? That he sent FSH to me, I produced lot of primordial follicles and then into primary follicles and then into secondary follicles, one of them Graafian follicle. Then Graafian follicle was naughty. Number one, it stimulates the uterus. Okay, we put the uterus here. Number one, it stimulates from ovary. This is going estrogen stimulating the uterus, and uterus is very happy and proliferating its lining and getting ready that, oh, baby will come, right? Okay, but meanwhile, estrogen go back to hypothalamus. Okay, this is hypothalamus, this is anterior pituitary. This estrogen, initially what it is doing, more and more estrogen going, it becomes angry and it does not produce FSH. And most of the follicles die, only Graafian follicle is happy. Is that right? And it is still giving estrogen. Something which doctors yet don't know clearly, but something happened. What thing happened? Something very unexpected and strange. First listen what was normally happening and now what will happen unexpectedly. Normally, ovary throwing the estrogen through the blood and FSH and LH production is down. But around the middle of the cycle, something changes into anterior pituitary, that estrogen which is very high, which is supposed to suppress the FSH LH, actually under the influence of estrogen, he suddenly starts producing more FSH and LH. It means normally estrogen inhibits the FSH LH production. This is negative feedback. But in the middle of the cycle, estrogen stimulates the production of FSH and LH. There is slight increase in FSH and dramatic and terrific increase in LH. Now, when estrogen is inhibiting the anterior pituitary production of FSH LH, we say there is negative feedback. And when estrogen increases the production of FSH LH, we say there is positive feedback. Do you get me? This is something doctors are working. Thank God they are not clear about it, so we don't need to learn it. There are many theories why negative feedback convert into positive feedback. But you are just supposed to know the estrogen, which was coming from the ovary, from the follicles, right? Please, thank you. That estrogen, which was coming here is proliferative stage. Here it was inhibiting FSH and LH. I told you competition is cruel. I think probably this negative feedback was only to kill the remaining follicles in competition. Because when FSH, LH went down, then all other died, only the best one survived. After that, more estrogen comes and product release of FSH, LH become less or more? More. And dramatically, which comes out? LH. LH is called luteinizing hormone. Now, in the female, somewhere in the middle of the cycle, suddenly FSH level become double or triple and LH level may become 10 times more. That is called luteinizing hormone or LH hormone surge. So every female who ovulates develops a strong LH surge, luteinizing hormone surge, luteinizing hormone multiplication in the blood. Now, when luteinizing hormone comes here, what it is doing? Under the influence of luteinizing hormone, many things will happen. Number one, the blood vessels which are going here, they will dilate. They will dilate. Number two, these cells, these are what cells? Theca cells. They will release destructive enzymes like proteolytic enzymes which can digest the proteins. One of the group of enzymes is collagenase, which can break down the collagen protein. So this luteinizing hormone which has come here under positive surge, that will bring changes into that. Meanwhile, this Graafian follicle has become so big that it produces an elevation. And where it produces an elevation on the surface of the ovary, it produces a nipple-like projection there. It is 2.5 or 2 centimeter or 2.5 centimeter size. When it produces pressure there, blood flow here become more or less? Less. So this become avascular area. What is this? Avascular area. This become dark color. So this point is called stigma. So over the Graafian follicle, stigma develops. Stigma develops, that Graafian follicle is growing up and stretching the capsule of the ovary, and the point where it is pushing the pressure, most of the capillaries become under the pressure closed, and this point become avascular. At other points, blood flow become more or less? More. And when blood flow become more, there are some local substances produced like prostaglandins. They also dilate the vessels. When blood flow become more, these secretions become less or more? Fluid here become less or more? More, because from the blood it is derived. So it become under less pressure or more pressure inside it? There's more pressure inside it. Meanwhile, destructive enzymes are being produced and destroying some collagen fibers. So cover is becoming weak or strong? Weak. So what luteinizing hormone has done? Luteinizing hormone has increased the pressure in this and made the capsule weak. And within few hours, it will complete its first meiotic division and start its second meiotic division. And within few hours, what will happen? This will rupture. This will rupture. And as soon as it will rupture, this ovum along with its friend will come out. Ovum along with its special cover, what is that? What is this? Zona pellucida and some cells, granulosa cells around it. These granulosa cells will come as bodyguard of the ovum. These granulosa cells will rearrange themselves around the zona pellucida. When they will rearrange themselves, this rearranged special protective cells around the ovum are called corona radiata. Very good. They are called corona radiata. A crown which radiate, crown made of cells. Is that right? So ovum is coming with a crown made of cells. So it has jumped out of this. Do you think now there's any value of this thing left behind when ovum has gone? It has very big value. This is the structure. This is the structure which has pushed the ovum out. They are like parents. Ovum has gone with its friend, and these parents will support it. Remember, in those females where this stop working, they don't never get baby. This structure is very important, which is left behind. This structure, let me tell you, this structure is left behind. Ovum has gone away, baby has left the home with its friends. Right? Now we can make it here. Water has gone out, there was fluid which has splashed out, and ovum is floating with its friends into that fluid. It has jumped into from the Graafian follicle. And remember, meanwhile, you remember there was hormone coming from here, estrogen, high level of estrogen and high level of FSH, which led to release of the ovum, stimulate these finger-like processes of fallopian tube. So before that, listen now, it's so wonderful, I don't know how I can appreciate the nature. If this is the ovary, this is the fallopian tube finger-like processes. Just before the ovulation, under the hormone influence, this finger-like processes approach the ovary and start sweeping on it. And they find where is that swelling. They know ovum is coming out of this. So they start have special sweeping actions on that until ovum with its friend jump out and they capture it. Did you get it? Now your princely ovum is here. Along with it, what was there? Zona pellucida. Around it, granulosa cells, which are now called corona radiata. Am I clear? When water and this thing has gone down, this will collapse in. Will it collapse in or not? When it will collapse in, this structure will become like this, folded structure like this, empty. This structure will convert into this. Now, this structure is made of which cells? It is made of remaining granulosa cells, you remember? The granulosa cells which are left behind. The structure is made of remaining, yes please, granulosa cells, plus it is made of remaining theca cells. It made of remaining theca cells. And this structure, out of this structure, ovum with its friends have gone on its special journey. Is that right? Meanwhile, FSH, I told you there was positive surge and there was a lot of LH. One function of LH was, luteinizing hormone was that it helped in ovulation. Second, luteinizing hormone will work on these cells. And there will be dramatic change into these cells. They are very much worried that we have asked the ovum to leave. We should support the ovum. So they make special preparation. You know what happens to these cells? These cells swell up. Their size increases. In these cells, endoplasmic reticulum become too much, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. These cells accumulate a lot of fat globules. These cells become large. They have a lot of fat, cholesterol-rich globules, and they make smooth endoplasmic reticulum. What is this all telling you? And this is telling that these cells are going to produce some hormone. And that hormone is going to be derived from cholesterol. So what really happens? They start producing a hormone called progesterone. Of course, they still produce some estrogen, but estrogen is less and progesterone is more. What the progesterone will do? Now, story goes beyond the 14th day. In the middle, there was a lot of LH. LH led to ovulation. After the ovulation has occurred, ovum has gone here. What happened? Remaining cells convert into swollen cells with a lot of cholesterol, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and all of them look yellow color cell. Other term for yellow color is lutein. Lutein means yellow. So doctors call it lutein cells. So they say some lutein cells are derived from yellow cells, are derived from granulosa cells, some are derived from theca cells. And this whole body means corpus, body made of yellow cells is left behind. Under the influence of luteinizing hormone, once the ovulation has occurred, whatever granulosa cells and whatever theca cells are left behind, they convert into yellow body, and that body is called corpus luteum. This corpus luteum is a temporary endocrine gland in a female. Total life of this corpus luteum, its usual life is just 10 to 12 days. This is a small gland produced in female's ovary every month. This gland is called corpus luteum, and luteinization occurred under the influence of luteinizing hormone LH. Now you understand why we call it LH, because that is luteinizing hormone. That one of the very dramatic function of that is that once the ovulation has occurred, remaining cells should be luteinized. This corpus luteum now produce massive amount of progesterone. Meanwhile, I forget to mention one very important thing. What was that? That very important thing was, yes, that very important thing was estrogen was at the peak just before ovulation. I told you that estrogen make it proliferative stage. But I must tell you one more thing. Under the influence of estrogen, this cervical gland make the mucus which is very, very thin. Usually mucus plug here is thick. But when estrogen is at the top, mucus become very, very thin and stringy in the cervix. Why it become thin? Yeah, this young man knows. So that's it's getting ready to take chances with the sperm. So that sperm can easily pass through that. When estrogen is at the peak just before ovulation, mucus of the cervix become very, very stringy and thin, so that if sperms are about to be there somehow, their travel will be facilitated. Am I clear? Anyway, this was function of estrogen. Now we come back. What is coming now? Progesterone. Now progesterone will come here. It will further modify the endometrium. Tell the endometrium, you are so stupid, you are simply proliferating. Do some more good things for the coming baby. No, don't become just thick. Become warm and red carpet reception. And be soft. How it happens? Under the influence of progesterone, a changes start here. What are those changes? Before the progesterone, there were some straight arteries going into this. What was this? Straight arteries. Suddenly arteries become coiled. Arteries become coiled. So endometrium under the influence of progesterone become more vascular or less vascular? More vascular. Red carpet reception. If blood flow more to endometrium, more edema in endometrium, more fluid in endometrium, endometrium becomes swollen and it becomes warm, and its capability to produce the nutrition is less or more? More. Meanwhile, under the influence of progesterone also, there are special glands here. Under the influence of estrogen, those glands were straight glands. Those glands were straight glands. Suppose this is the estrogen treated endometrium and straight vessels. This is estrogen treated. Now what progesterone will do? Progesterone will thicken it further. It is progesterone treated. And its blood vessels will become coiled. So it will become less vascular, more vascular. More vascular, and glandular structure will become also tortuous. Gland will also become tortuous, coiled. Straight gland will have less cells, and this gland with lot of twist and coils will have more cells. So under the influence of progesterone, endometrium become more thick, it become more vascular, it become more glandular, it become more soft, it become more warm, it become more nutritive, it become more mother-like. It's getting ready. Is that right? Now look. This is now this part of the cycle going on at this time. And who is directing this ultimate changes? Progesterone. And progesterone is coming from where? Corpus luteum. All of you know this thing? What is the life of corpus luteum? 10 to 12 days. After that, it will die. Now listen carefully. What really happens? Let's suppose this is the lucky ovum, that while this ovum was traveling in this direction, sperm approaches here. Sperm really travels all the way and reaches there. And let's suppose this ovum gets fertilized. I will not go into detail of fertilization. We'll have separate lecture on that. Ovum gets fertilized. As soon as I told you sperm touches the ovum, sperm membrane touches the ovum membrane, and sperm material goes into ovum, some changes occur. One change I told you previously, that in the zona pellucida, all other receptor for sperm will be inactivated. So other sperm cannot approach now ovum. Secondly, ovum has to rush and complete its work. What was that work? Complete second meiotic division. Complete second meiotic division. And thirdly, listen, without sperm, ovum survive for how much time? If sperm does not come, what is the lifespan of ovum? It lives for how long? It lives forever, or it lives for 1 day or 10 days or 1 month? Yes. Okay, you tell me, where the, if sperm does not come, where the ovum goes, where the egg goes? You will say, come down. As hen give an egg, there is an egg? I don't know, I'm asking you. Then what happened to this egg if sperm does not come? Look, human egg is very, very sensitive. It survives here only for 48 hours maybe. If sperm comes, happy news. If sperm does not come, it dies with the sadness. The process of death is called apoptosis. People call it apoptosis, one P is silent. Apoptosis. So human egg, if sperm is not there, without completing its second meiotic division, it becomes so sad that if sperm stimulation is not there, it undergoes apoptosis and dies. Within the fallopian tube, it is just one humble cell which has died there, the unfortunate cell. Just some macrophage or neutrophil come and eat it and digest and finish the story. Okay, rather than fertilization, we start in this female, she did not get sperm. Listen now carefully. She did not get sperm. If she did not get the sperm, ovum survived for about 48 hours and then ovum dies. Then ovum dies. Don't tell anyone that ovum is coming out, right? Ovum dies in the fallopian tube, neutrophil, macrophage eat up. Now what happened? Do you think this corpus luteum knows that its ovum could not get the sperm and it has died? No. Ovum dies so sadly and so silently, it does not send any chemical message to corpus luteum. So corpus luteum think, still my ovum is moving on the way. So corpus luteum keep on producing progesterone. Up to 10 to 12 days, it produces a lot of progesterone. And it makes the uterus endometrium very, very ready for the product of conception. But if after 10 to 12 days, it does not get any happy news that product of conception has come. Do you think if sperm has not come, do you think ovum survive? No, ovum dies. Corpus luteum does not know the death of the ovum. It will automatically keep on working for 10 to 12 days. If up to 10 to 12 days, corpus luteum does not get a very, very special happy news. What are the happy news? That from the uterus, happy news should come that ovum which you sent, that met the sperm, and now product of conception are there and uterus is pregnant. From the uterus, some special message should go to the corpus luteum if female gets pregnant. But because pregnancy is not there, sperm was not there, ovum has died, do you think that special message will go from here to here? I will tell you later what is that very special chemical substance. But do you think that chemical message will go from the uterus or from the product of conception? If there are no product of conception, then any message from product of conception will go to this? No. So it will know after 10 to 12 days that it did not get any message. It will start degenerating and involuting. It will rapidly degenerate, and during that process, eventually it will become very much something degenerated material. We call it corpus albicans. Albican means white, like a scar material. It stopped producing this yellow material and progesterone. But look here. Look, when it is degenerating, because it is disappointed, because there was no report from the product of conception, attention please, what really happened? There was no sperm, ovum within 48 hours died, or 72 hours died, product of conception are not there, so no happy news from the product of conception to this. It completes its natural life of 10 to 12 days and it involutes, degenerate. When it degenerate, it knows that there's no need of me. I did my best, I sent my ovum, there's no report coming. What is the fun to maintain all this red carpet reception? So it becomes disappointed and degenerate. As soon as the structure degenerate, progesterone level dramatically goes down, estrogen and progesterone. When progesterone level goes down, remember this endometrium is progesterone dependent. Many small vessels in this, they undergo spasticity because progesterone keeps those vessels open. So all these vessels will shut down. When they will close, blood flow to this area will increase or decrease? Decrease. All endometrium will become ischemic. Endometrium will go into which stage? Ischemic stage. But before that, progesterone was making the endometrium in progesterone stage or in secretory stage. When progesterone was there was a lot of glandular structure. So endometrium was in glandular stage, or endometrium was in secretory stage, or endometrium was in vascular stage. But as soon as corpus luteum dies, degenerate, endometrium goes into ischemia, ischemic stage. When these vessels close, shut down, what will happen to these cells? This is a very thick area. It needs good blood supply to live on. And blood supply will go down. Cells will start dying. We say necrotic changes will come. When some cells in our body die, we say there is necrosis. So necrotic changes, big areas of endometrium will undergo, yes, necrotic changes, right? And these necrotic changes will slough away. And some vessels, from where these necrotic layers will slough away, the vessels which are opening, their bleeding will start. So blood, along with sloughed or broken away pieces of endometrium, they will start coming out. And female will have menstrual bleeding. Is that right? In a way, uterus is very sad and weeping with blood tears. It could not get the pregnancy. There was so much, all the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary and ovary, so all of that system so much orchestrated and danced around, but still there was no pregnancy. So all this will start. It will take 4 or 5 days and it will slough out. But never lose the hope. Estrogen progesterone has gone down because this has died. As soon as estrogen progesterone go down, these cells think, oh, there's no estrogen progesterone. We should start the new business again. Now we start the next month. And see, this time we'll make her pregnant. Good news. Now, for 5 days, she was having menstrual bleeding, right? Meanwhile, how much blood during one menstrual bleeding occurs? Anyone knows? How much is bleeding total in these days? In 4 or 5 days or 6 days, maximum allowed are 8 days. After that, it is considered pathology. Yeah? Anyone knows? Something strange. We are doctors. We are supposed to know these things. You forget? Okay, anyone remember? I think you have been knowing it well. Okay. He's right. Actually, it is somewhere between 20 to 80 ml. It varies between 20 to 80 ml. If it is less than 15 ml, this is also considered pathology. Or if it is more than 80 ml per cycle, it is also considered pathology. I will not go into detail of these things. Let's go back to our true story. 2nd month start. Last month was disastrous and menstruation is there, right? Now, endometrium has 3 layers. One layer is called compact layer. This is compact layer. Under it, this is what layer? This is deepest layer of endometrium is called basal layer, right? Then this is glandular layer and this is compact layer. These 2 superficial layers are lost, but basal layer is never lost. Endometrium loses its 2 superficial layers. These 2 superficial layers which are lost into menstrual blood, these are called functional layer. So endometrium loses its functional layer along with the blood, but never loses this basal layer. Why? From basal layer it will again become into action for the next month. Right? Now, we'll start the next month. Now, you people will tell me. Because corpus luteum is degenerated, converted into corpus albicans, estrogen progesterone level are high or low in the beginning of the cycle? Estrogen progesterone are produced by this thing. Is it there or low? They are low. In the beginning of the cycle, we are starting the second month. When estrogen progesterone levels are low, these will produce more gonadotropin releasing hormone, and anterior pituitary will produce more follicle stimulating hormone. So more primary follicles will be eventually taken to secondary follicles. Again, granulosa cells along with the theca cells and granulosa cells will produce estrogen. Theca cell will produce androgens, and granulosa cell by an enzyme called aromatase, they will convert androgens into estrogen. Now second month, again first half of the cycle is going on. In first half of the cycle, she is having more follicle stimulating hormone, more follicles are growing towards the secondary level, more estrogen is coming, and now uterus again start. This was sloughed uterus. Endometrium was sloughed. You know, this layer has gone, but basal layer is left. It will again undergo what? What changes? Proliferative changes. Is that right? As estrogen in the second month again going up, this is going into proliferative changes. FSH, LH goes down. So only the best, most grown and dominant Graafian follicle remain, others degenerate. Right? Then in the middle of the cycle, there is powerful luteinizing hormone surge and ovulation occur. And now next, ovum with its corona radiata on the way. And what is left behind is? Left behind cells convert into corpus luteum. And again, this is now this second cycle's corpus luteum. This will again start the same behavior. It has a life of how many days? 10 to 12 days. Now what happened? That these corpus luteum start producing a lot of progesterone so that its product is moving. And it undergoes, under the influence of progesterone, it goes under secretory phase, vascular phase. Is that right? It becomes more thick, more vascular, more glandular, and it becomes more receptive for the product of conception. And this time, female got the, rather ovum got the sperm. And as soon as sperm comes there, normally without sperm, ovum live for how many hours? 48 hours. Then it dies. If magic touch of sperm is there, ovum is going to live for how long? Yes, question is, madam, to you. If ovum gets a sperm, then ovum is going to die in 48 hours or it's going to live? Live. 2-cell stage, it will break, ovum will complete its first meiotic division, second meiotic division. Then of course, we'll go into fertilization and discuss that thing. But anyway, ovum will convert into fertilized ovum will go into 2-cell stage, then it will go into 4-cell stage, so on and so forth. This ovum and its product will live for how long? Maybe 80 years. You are the product of that fertilized ovum, one of the fertilized ovum, right? Now, this fertilized ovum, right, it will go into 2-cell stage, right? This is zona pellucida, okay. This is zona pellucida, right? And this is ovum into 2-cell now. On the first day it get fertilized, this was sperm. On the first day 1 it got fertilized. On day 2 it become ovum divide into 2-cell, mitosis start. On day 3 it may have gone to maybe 8-cell stage and called morula. I will teach this thing in detail later. Meanwhile, this is traveling, it has come here. And here, now it has fluid-filled cavity. Then what happens? There are hundreds of the cells which are derived from the division of ovum. One fertilized ovum break down into multiple cells. These cells make one inner cell mass and they make one cell mass which is outside. And zona pellucida break down. Zona pellucida break down. Is that right? And fluid goes in. From where this fluid is coming? This is the uterine milk. Milk from the endometrium of the uterus. This is special type of fluid which is coming from progesterone treated endometrium. Nutrition material going into this. Then what happens? That on which day it arrives? Again, go back. First day fertilized. Second day it become 2-cell stage. Third day it cells multiplied and make something like morula. Morula is 12 to 16 cells. Then fluid fill into it. Fluid filled cavity is called cyst. So this rapidly proliferating cells, any cells which are rapidly proliferating are called blastocyte. And these are rapidly proliferating cell with a fluid filled cavity. Fluid filled cavity is called cyst. So this blastocyst come here on about 4th day. On 5th day, it make finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections, with those finger-like projections, it hang with what is this? It hang with these fingers touch the progesterone treated endometrium, and these fingers or villi or this whole structure is called trophoblast. What is it called? This outer structure is called trophoblast. Am I going fast or you are understanding it? Are you clear? Right? That many cells divide, some cells become inner mass and outer cells convert into trophoblast. Now, this trophoblast tissue make what? What is this? Finger-like processes. These finger-like processes touch the endometrium, and from the fingers, digestive enzyme come. What is coming out? Digestive enzyme. Wherever it touches the endometrium, it digests the endometrium. Endometrial cell undergo digestion. And when they break down, they release nutrition for this. So it keep on making the way and taking up the nutrition, and then it becomes, what happens? It has become within the endometrium. It has gone within the endometrium. This is the happy baby. Of course, baby is not like this at this stage. Now, blastocyst has gone into thick, highly vascular, highly secretory, highly nutritive endometrium. It has gone there. About 5th day, 5th day, start implantation. 7th, 8th day, it completes implantation. Now it is in the endometrium. Now do you know it is happy, comfortable. It is stuck within the endometrium. Endometrium is giving the nutrition. Now what it will do? Children are very, very selfish. Now they have to give a special message. They will start releasing. They have to give message to whom? Corpus luteum. They have to give a message to corpus luteum. Congratulations. There is pregnancy. The ovum which you released has met with the sperm. And product of conception is there. And it is implanted. So don't be disappointed. Don't be in despair. And don't degenerate. It has to send some message from here to here. Because if it degenerate, all of it will go down along with that baby. Do you think that's a good news? No. So, actually, this product of conception, having the cytotrophoblast, trophoblast will produce special type of chemical substance. These chemical substance through the blood. It's a very happy message or sad message? Yeah, this happy message will go into blood. And this happy message of congratulations, it will, through the blood, reach to where? Suddenly, corpus luteum changes its program. It is so happy with such good news. Then, right, what it will do? Rather than dying, it start multiplying. It become more larger, happy. And it become very big. And it start producing heavy amount of estrogen and lot of heavy amount of progesterone. So that estrogen progesterone supplies continues. Rather it become too much. And if estrogen progesterone become too much, do you think these blood vessels will shrink and this will come out? So this endometrium will be well maintained. And female will miss her periods. And she will worry, is she pregnant or not? I don't know, she will be worried or happy depending upon many factors. But one thing is there, that because the product of conception was there before the next period, and it sent a lot of happy news there. And these happy news or congratulation message made the corpus luteum more stronger, multiplying, more luteinizing, and now this is no more corpus luteum of simple periods, it is the corpus luteum of pregnancy. Corpus luteum of pregnancy. It becomes very strong, it produces massive amount of what? Estrogen and progesterone. It maintains the endometrium very, very well so that product of conception can grow over there. Is that right? And very heavy amount of estrogen and progesterone inhibits the pituitary system severely so that no more FSH coming, no more follicles allowed to take chance until that baby is there. Is that right? Now what happens? Some of these stars go from the female blood into urine. And with a special test, when she checked these are there, she said, oh, I'm pregnant. Now you know what is this chemical substance? HCG. It is called human chorionic gonadotropic hormone. HCG. Human chorionic gonadotropic hormone. Actually, now we can say the product of conception from the trophoblastic area release HCG, and HCG is something like luteinizing hormone. So HCG goes back and stimulates what? Corpus luteum, and corpus luteum convert into corpus luteum of pregnancy, corpus gravidatum, right? And this corpus will ready to serve the baby for a long time, but baby will play another trick. You know what baby is going to do? Actually, as time will pass by, baby will make its own placenta. Corpus luteum, every month, it keep on supplying good amount of estrogen and progesterone to the uterus, so that uterus become a very, very friendly place for the product of conception. So it means baby survival here depends on the constant supply of estrogen and progesterone. But it is very clever. What it does? After some time, its placenta start producing its own estrogen and progesterone. Baby develops a special covering around it in placenta. And placenta is an endocrine gland. So product of conception start producing itself estrogen and progesterone. And when estrogen progesterone goes up, is that right? After it become independent, it will again degenerate. It has done its job. It will still die, but not sad. It works for about 3 to 4 months. During that, it becomes totally independent in estrogen progesterone production. Is that right? So female remain pregnant, for example, for 9 months, right? Estrogen progesterone remains high in her blood. Initially, it was high due to corpus luteum of the pregnancy, and then it was high due to auto production of estrogen progesterone from the placenta. Is that right? So until estrogen progesterone remain very high, her anterior pituitary remains suppressed, and she does not produce more follicle stimulating hormone, and she does not develop more follicles, and she does not take more chances. Am I clear? So what females are doing every month? Their whole biological system and reproductive cycle every month is orchestrating certain events to take chances on pregnancy. Every time when periods come, it is the disappointment of the biological system that we are disappointed whatever preparation we made, and we are throwing away all our preparatory endometrium and blood. But again the cycle starts. Again, now I will go rapidly. And you have to tell me, everyone be attentive, we are about to finish the lecture, right? And I will make the graphs and more diagrams tomorrow about this, make it more clear. But right now you have to tell me. In the initial days of the cycle, is that right? First half of the cycle. Remember, first half of the cycle is not fixed. Second half of the cycle is more fixed. Ovulation occurs 14 days before the next menstruation. Is that right? For example, anyway, now if female has 28 days cycle, ovulation will occur on which day? 14th day. But if female has 34 days cycle, then ovulation will occur on? Ovulation will not occur in the middle. It is before, if female has 34 days cycle, ovulation will occur 14 days before next period. So it will be on 20th day. And if female has 24 days cycle, she will have ovulation at 10th day. This is important because female should know when they have maximum chance to get pregnant. because sometimes they are desperately trying to get pregnant and sometimes they are desperately trying not to get pregnant. So this is very important for females to know that when they are most fertile. They are most fertile around the time of ovulation. And when is the ovulation? If some female has regular cycles, then ovulation usually occurs just 14 days before the next period. Of course, female who has irregular cycle, she cannot judge it well. Is that right? And if female has 28-day cycle, ovulation will occur on which day? 14th day. If female has 34-day cycle, ovulation will be on 20th day. If female has regular cycle of 24 days, ovulation will occur at 10th day. Am I clear? Now, in first, I will say it first half and the second half. During the first half, FSH goes up, follicles start forming from primary to secondary to Graafian. Estrogen start flowing. Estrogen make the uterus and endometrium into which state? Proliferative stage. So what we say first half is FSH dependent phase, or first half is follicular stage of the ovary, or first half of the female is estrogenic stage hormonally, or first half of the female is proliferative stage, speaking in reference to endometrium. Then on 14th day, before the next menstruation, ovulation start. There is a surge of FSH and LH. Once ovulation occur, then remaining component of the Graafian follicle convert into corpus luteum. Now ovum is traveling into fallopian tube. And what is the duty of corpus luteum? To maintain and further make the endometrium more secretory, more vascular, so that it becomes more ready for the product of conception. If sperm come, ovum gets fertilized, and product of conception reach to the uterus, and product of conception implant, then they will start releasing which hormone? HCG. Is that right? They will start releasing HCG. Is that right? That HCG will give a happy news to the corpus luteum, and corpus luteum will become corpus luteum of pregnancy, and it will not involute, it will, with all the love, it will support the endometrium. Is that right? Meanwhile, HCG also go to the central nervous system to the female, and she feels nausea. Is it good or bad? Why Ronald feel it good? Excellent. Ronald knows more. Actually, it's good. Nausea is good for the female because she will become more careful about what to eat. Because all the females are not eating, cow is also a female. And cow is not taking microwave food and other things. So actually, lower animals, when the females get pregnant, they develop nausea and they become careful about the food, so that they don't take anything which may damage the baby, some chemical substance. So human females also develop nausea. Nausea is due to rising level of HCG. So HCG is doing three important things related with the human female. Number one, it is maintaining corpus luteum. Number two, it is producing some degree of nausea. Of course, for a while it is bad, but makes the female more careful about the dietary things. And thirdly, it helps in the diagnosis of pregnancy.
But why do you get nausea from things that are good for you then?
Now look. Female develop nausea for everything, and that is also one early sign of pregnancy. I don't know about Western culture. In our Eastern culture, when any girl who is married and start getting the nausea, all the elderly females become concerned she is pregnant, and then they start giving her special foods and tell not eat this, not eat that, and take more rest, whatever they think is appropriate. But the thing is that it's a major event in female life, and she should get alert, get some signals from inside, right? So that she go to doctor or look around or whatever is there, right? I will not go into that. Right now we concentrate on this, right? Female behavior is out of domain of this lecture. Okay, we'll talk about that in behavioral science. Listen. So what we are talking about, that if she gets pregnant, just make a fast revision. If she gets pregnant, it will go here, release HCG, and it will be maintained, and cycle stop. That is why females do not have periods when they are pregnant. Am I clear? Opposite to that, if during all this effort, when ovulation occurs, no sperm is there, ovum will die, corpus luteum of natural life of 10 to 12 days produce a lot of progesterone, keep on making it ready. More secretory and more vascular and more warm and more thick and more nutritive. But up to 12 days, if it does not receive any HCG, it assumes that its ovum has died. and it degenerates. It degenerates, estrogen progesterone level go dangerously down, and it sloughs down and menstruation start. And biological system is ready for the next chance and next month. Class dismissed.